of
Sorry.
account and the August 21, right? And so that's the dynamicness of this. And if I'll just illustrate here by changing this 2021 8 to 2021 9, and you'll see that the numbers here and here will be the same. So 2021-9, and they dynamically changed there. So hopefully you all caught that, but basically what it enables me to do on each month is I can just have a formula here that will just automate the whole process for me. It's been very helpful as I take the same model and I can apply it to lots of different industries, various clients that I have. In addition to that, I mentioned that for aesthetic purposes, I like to use the grouping. And all I've done here is I've taken all the sub-accounts that build up to the general grouping that I'm looking for, and I just hide them via grouping. Now, why I like grouping versus hide, I've seen a lot of people use the hide function here in Excel, but I like grouping because it allows me to drill in to the various details that I may get a question on or something like that. So those are the two elements that make up this type of, or this template for this financial framework. And hopefully you can kind of visualize how you could all use this and benefit from these two principles.
That's awesome. I love it. Andrew, you and I use Excel very differently. I think you use it as it was intended to be used. That's awesome. Any questions or thoughts from anybody in the group? You can just unmute yourself if you do. So I'm trying to wrap my head around when you use that and you're changing the 20-9 to a 20-8 or vice versa. Like, is the 8 and 9, those are the month numbers?
Yeah, so here's August and September. And what this is doing is it's pulling from where I have a trial balance account, right? And so as the month progresses, this was my June package. Now I want this to be July, and I want all these numbers to move to the left. Well, if you're using, a VLOOKUP or, manually entering that stuff, as your package gets more dynamic, it's going to be very, very painful. In fact, I think my predecessor spent the majority of his time putting numbers into a spreadsheet and ensuring that it was accurate for presentation. And that part of my job takes just, a minuscule amount, and it frees up the additional time that I have to really drill into the components and then work with the operations to change the business.
That's phenomenal. Sorry, I didn't do this beforehand, but do you mind introducing yourself to everybody just so they can understand where you're coming from and why you're using Excel like this?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Andrew Fulmer, and I'm the CFO of Newmont College of Computer Science. I'm also the CFO of Cardinality.ai. It's a software company out of Virginia, and we have a large number of employees in India. I'm also the CFO of UrbanityEd.com. It's a new upstart company, and CFO of Insight Health. So I'm working in multiple different industries with various companies and clients. And my day job is Newmont College of Computer Science. And I got really involved in Upwork, and my freelance work kind of just took off during that time of COVID. So that's why I have so many things right now.
That's awesome. So did I understand correctly that are those companies that you're CFO for in the data AI space, healthcare, and education?
Yes.
Okay. I was just basing it off of the names, but very cool. Okay, what other models or sheets do people use? I'm going to I'll share my screen because mine will give you a sense of the other side of how Excel could be used in a much more simple way. So this is a sheet, and I do a lot of just kind of quick and dirty modeling in Excel to help in decision making. But this is how I think about how a cap table is built in a new startup. And this one's very simple. I've got another kind of cap table builder that's much more complicated, but this allows me to, in stages, which are the columns, see who the owners are and how much they own based on either investment or time. So all of the yellow are changeable kind of drivers of the model. And you've got your valuation down at the bottom for your company at these different stages. You can change those. You can use these to say, okay, this investment came in $200,000 in the prototype stage here, and they would get 20%. Looks like there's a bump if the valuation was this. So I use this to just kind of map out, if you're an investor, what does your return profile look like based on the assumptions of kind of how I think a company is going to grow and progress on a valuation side and the general owners of it. Questions, or does that make sense? So scenarios being, these are the founders. This investment on founders actually just kind of drives their percentage here. That's why I have the percentage. So you can just use this as more of a driving percentage than actual investment in. And then these others, investors and options, are also driven either by just a dollar amount or a ratio. So this helps me understand if this investor is coming in, what the value is here at first sales when the company is valued at 5 million, or here looks like a down round if your valuation's at 15 million and you're giving up this much stock, etc. So you can kind of see quick and dirty up and down rounds and what an investor would be getting. Much more simple, not a lot of hardcore formulas on that one. What else are people using in Excel? What have you used to make your life easier, do your job faster?
Okay, Taylor, I have one to share.
Awesome.
This might be a little niche, but this is a spreadsheet we're using to compare the feature here we're talking about is conditional formatting. So I know that's, it's a really easy thing to learn, and it helps. In this case, what we're looking at is, this is a download from Libsyn, which is a podcast hosting company of podcast episodes. And this is the number of downloads that they've estimated in the first 7 days, first 30 days, first 90 days in total. And so the color coding is helping us, and then we sorted by who the most downloads. But as we were looking at what we're trying to do is identify messages that are the most appealing to the audience for the podcast. And so as we take a look at which podcasts have performed the best, then we can take and recycle those messages and through other channels, right? We're in this case we have a paid social campaign and some webinars that we want to keep on the same topics, and so this helps us see the more green over time means that they're like this one here is doing pretty good. It's giving you a more consistent, like a lot of times new listeners to a podcast will go back and download previous episodes, and so that helps us see which topics are the most interesting to that audience. So
Super cool.
and it looks like a lot of colors, so that's at least
Much
do
prettier
colors.
than my gray and yellow, yes. So when you see, it seems like you're building kind of a quick BI tool where you're also visualizing some of that.
Yeah,
When I looked
yeah,
at that, there was like some that were outliers, like a dark green or something like that. Are you then just pulling that information out and doing a drill down and saying, okay, why is this one so green or why is this one so red? How are you using that?
yes. Yeah, so that's right. Like we're looking, the colors are helping us to detect patterns in what's otherwise just a rows and columns of numbers, and so that's really all it's doing is it's helping us surface things that are outliers, things that are or just where the range is bigger than normal, and then we can drill down to that and say, okay, do we know why? Excuse me, just a second. Do we know why this had a lot of downloads late? And then we can look back and say, oh yeah, because we ran a bunch of ads around that podcast episode, but we didn't run them when the episode first launched. We ran them say 6 months later, and that caused a spike. So now we're looking at sort of ad results and return on ad spend versus just the performance of the topic.
Very cool. How is everyone else using this? Using Excel? Looks like you've got fans of color coding, Chad.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, John.
No,
Colors make everything better, right?
No, I'm the same way. I visualize things as well, and it helps me, better see things. Yeah, I can share our little thing real quick. I don't have cool formulas like everyone else, but it's honestly actually more of a way for us to how we go about thinking through a lot of our marketing activities. So this is just a general dashboard. You don't have to look at this. This is a little, a lot. But generally speaking, and this is actually the pull from Chad's color coding. But we do a lot of cohort analysis and retention, looking at our retention metrics. So when we are specifically looking into product market fit, and I know there's a million different ways that people think through product market fit, but for us, and what's been helpful for me is we look at retention and retention with whom. And so if over time, and if we are not gaining any kind of retention, we just assume with that group or that audience, or in this case, this cohort, we don't have product market fit with this, this group or persona or whoever we're kind of targeting. And so, this is, something that we kind of take a look at, and we do it, by different metrics. We do it by Facebook ads or Twitter ads, but this one, you can kind of tell. So, I mean, retention goes, weeks up, after sign up, and then it goes out to 6 weeks. And then we just kind of measure what are our retention rates, after 6 weeks. But, this is an easy way visually when we kind of coordinate this and have this conditional formatting with, different numbers. But we can kind of tell off all of a sudden, 6 weeks out, we were holding, mid 60s, and all of a sudden we start to see this decline. But then we noticed with our users, like starting in this week, all of a sudden we doubled our number of users, but our retention sucks, right? So when we're just looking at our initial who we're bringing in, this is actually a good case study of showing like, oh, hey, look, we're bringing in more users. These are the people that we want. Like this is what we're doing is working. But what we've noticed is that with this new targeted audience that we implemented during this week, and it actually held out for several weeks and probably too long before we realized this, that we were, because these numbers were good, right? Like we were like, oh, hey, new acquisitions, like new people were coming in. This was super awesome. But then it turned out that it wasn't super awesome, and that our product market fit really was more, even though we didn't have the same, in terms of bulk users, but the users we were attracting up here actually were retaining. And these actually were our advocates, right? These were the ones that were helping grow our product that we were kind of servicing. So this is just something I thought that was kind of simple, kind of more handy when you are looking in terms of cohort and retention analysis, that ultimately helps us with these other things, when it comes to, because when we're looking at retention metrics over time, we're looking at the slope. Is it, declining? Is it a slow decline, flat, or is it increasing? Are we increasing our retention rate? But anyways, yeah, just wanted to kind of quickly share this, except I don't know where my Zoom, oh, there it is. Okay, I lost where the stop share button was, but wanted to kind of share that. Just one way that we kind of look at with our cohort analysis and as we're doing our marketing activities through a marketing lens. So this is why I'm like with Chad, I'm all about the color coordination.
Super helpful. I've done that with a really big spreadsheet before where it was just 2 colors to show a team, look, red or green, like,
yep.
Look at where the red is. I really like that color coding side of things. Anyone else want to share?
I don't have a sheet. Oops. Who was that? Was that Chad?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know I shared this on Midday Connect before too, but I have a I use a Van Westendorp pricing spreadsheet, and I never recreate that thing. I always go back to it and use the same thing. I'll just share the link here if anybody wants to see it.
Yeah, and if there's like, I don't know, if there's a drive or something, because I'm more than happy to like share this out if anyone wants to like pull this too. So, and I think it might be useful for other people. Like some of the sheets that I see, I was like, man, that would be really cool. Like if we were able to leverage that too.
Yeah,
I feel like I could spend like a month just sitting at John's feet watching the way that he's using data for this. Is great. I'd love to see you.
Yes.
Yeah, John, I second that. I would love to see that.
If I think all of you have my email, if you want to just shoot me an email, I can put together like a Google folder that I can put them in and then share them across. I'll put my templates in there as well, and we can all kind of share and add to it if you're willing to. Devin, were you going to tell us what you like to do?
I was going to share, it's not a sheet, but it might be interesting to somebody who's, got an issue that they can't quite solve. I actually came across this morning, and then Taylor sent out the thing about Excel. And so I feel like maybe it was just the stars aligning. I found this website that instead of finding your exact like Excel like formula, you type in your problem. So I just like drafted one up real quick over here. You can see my like Excel sheet, and it's got a bunch of important values. And then I just did a really quick one that's going in finding the number of values between 10 and 20. And then you hit generate, and then it just creates your thing here. your little formula, you can bring that over to Excel and then paste it in, and then it goes and does it for you. So it's not a formula, but it's a way to fix my problems when I can't just, figure it out.
I love it. Hannah, this looks like something that you've done in the past, where you've gone on forums to ask for Excel help. Can you post that link in the chat, Devin?
Yeah, and it's a freemium model to where you get 5 requests a day, but seems kind of fun. I'm curious to know. I've only done like 3 of them right now, but I'm curious to see if you can do a bunch of lookups and really get fancy with it. But
I wonder what description it would take to get the formula that Andrew showed us at the beginning. Like, how would you describe the problem you're trying to solve so that you got that formula?
for real.
Cool.
Taylor, maybe I'll share something for just a second.
Please.
Where did we go? Sorry, I think it's behind this. Sorry, give me a moment. Something's happening. Come back to me. I need to organize my screens.
I'll throw up one more that I use. It's again, probably more on the kind of high level startup type thinking. And it's a model that I've used to estimate potential return on a new product. So this is something that I always try and do, is kind of document the assumptions that I've got so that I can start turning those knobs and pulling levers that are different. But each one of these has a driver that will then help me understand how long it takes to get to cash flow break even. So you can put in the market numbers, like how big you think your market is, what you think the growth rate is, expected penetration of the market, et cetera. And then driven on how much revenue you believe you could get based on initial sales and et cetera. So I go through this, and it's kind of a top-down way of looking at it, saying, if this is the size of the market, what could we expect to capture over time? And if we did that, what would the financials look like? And when would cash flow break even come, with very general expenses down here on lines 3 through 20 or 13 through 20. So that's kind of the top down financial modeling that I play with to try and get the IRR and net income years to break even. In the same file, I've got more of the bottoms up. Again, very high level, not a lot of line items in the sheet. And it's more driven on, okay, operating expenses being 20%, 30%, like choose a percentage, your COGS are a percentage, but you can get into unit prices and saying, okay, how many licenses or units do I think I can sell here? And if I do it at this rate, just going through at a very high level what that looks like, changing the growth rates. And what this does is, at least it helps me to be able to say, okay, if we invest $100,000, $500,000, whatever it is, do the financials pencil to get the return that we're looking for in the time frame that we're looking for? And then you can kind of see what's breaking the model or breaking your hopes and desires on the financial model. So again, very simple. It's not kind of financial forecasting like, let's see. So the one that Andrew pulled up, I think, is definitely more involved. And then I play with some of those as we get further down the line. Like this one, it's one that was a model from a long time ago that a public company that I worked with used a version of this. So you can see down at the bottom, like there's a lot of different departments, etc. A lot of the time I'll use this when I'm forecasting with a little bit more detail or trying to think of all of the potential expenses, kind of the line items that the groups maybe that Andrew was talking about. So you go into the financial and accounting tab and it gives you a lot of things to think about. Marketing department, like what are the types of expenses? So I'm not trying to be a CFO with this. It's more just giving me a sense of things to look at and review when I'm doing more high level forecasting. So just some other tools that are helpful for me. Parker, did you get your screens arranged?
Yeah, I figured it out. And what I was going to share, it's more of like an idea or perspective. It's definitely not any kind of like a I don't know, anything too deep. But I almost never work with like data and data sets. A lot of what I do is more like qualitative. And so I just bring up the idea that if you have something that you're measuring on more of a qualitative basis, it's been helpful for us, and I think will continue to be more helpful to like just rank or rate or kind of score things qualitatively, so that it shows up in a quantitative way. You know, just like if we're looking for an answer to a specific question, then we use our own insight to kind of come up with the rate or like the ranking for it. So that's been something that's been helpful at SVS because a lot of the stuff that we have is more, especially as we do validation and things like that, it's not like very quantitative. And so just trying to make qualitative things quantitative has been helpful and seems like could be helpful for a lot of startups or kind of entrepreneurs. So just, I guess, something to think about in your own work.
Cool. That's awesome. Thanks, Parker.
Yeah.
We're at about time of when we usually start wrapping up. Anybody have anything else they want to share or things that have helped them using Excel?
I have
Bill,
one thing-
oh, go ahead.
I have one more thing that I'd just like to bring everyone's attention to, and that is utilizing Excel mingled with the web. One thing that I picked up in my consulting was my clients had this problem of they either wanted to pull information from the web or push information to the web. And there's a way to do that with Selenium and VBA. A lot of people have a spreadsheet or some kind of information, and they've employed someone just to take that information from the spreadsheet and type it into the web and then go through the web forms and then submit. That's possible to do in an automated fashion. And I've had a lot of clients come to me with that need. I'm sure you guys can envision where that could be very useful. I want to illustrate just what the components are really quickly for this group. Just so if you're having trouble envisioning what that is, you can do so here. Can you see my screen here? This spreadsheet? Okay. So what I did is I had a client reached out to me just the other day and had me pull some information from the web. Again, as I mentioned, you can push or pull information from the web with this process. And here I'm pulling information. This is, first I pulled all of the links that were wanted for different rentals in the Hamptons. And then there's, different things that I'm pulling. This one has property details, right? And so it's pulling all this property detail information that's shown on the web for this. And it's going out to this website here and pulling different bits of information in this page here. So what I did is I deleted some of this here, and I'm just going to start the code, and you can see how fast. Oh, I want to show you the code too. The code is, as I said, in VBA, but it uses this key piece of software that integrates with VBA called Selenium, okay? And that automates repetitive steps within the web, okay? Very dynamic. So I'm going to just start the code here by pushing play, and you'll see how the data it's going out to each page and then just putting the information. You see how fast that is happening. And so I ran this at night. My client thinks I spent hours and hours on it. And I have the data for him in the morning. So anyway, very cool piece of technology integrating Selenium with Excel.
That's awesome. And you negotiated a rate of getting paid by the line you filled out, right? Per line.
Piece of data, every piece of data.
Yes, every cell.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Dallin, you said, or Devin, you said you did that in your internship. Did you use Selenium?
Yeah, I literally, we built a tool that there was this task that they were doing every year, and it would take a full team like a month plus to do it. And we cut that time down like super dramatically to where like it's crazy. But yeah, it's super powerful.
And it only works on, does it only work on sites where the data is consistently provided? Like it's a kind of a template?
Yes,
No.
no.
Not necessarily.
Hmm.
You have to know a little bit about HTML to find the components that you're looking for on the web page.
Okay. So you have to define per kind of web URL or web page what you're looking for in their code and saying, okay, yeah, on this page, you're going to have to look for these headers or these HTML, whatever it is that delineates those. And then it'll go through every page in their site.
That's right.
Okay. That's awesome. You guys are blowing my mind. Thanks, Andrew. Chad, did you have something else that you wanted to share?
I did have it, but that one was so cool. I'm embarrassed to share it now. I just don't. What I was going to share was this little hurdle rate calculator. This is like if you're interested in, some of the investment analysis stuff like you were doing, and it's just a calculator that. So you enter the rate of return, what's the size of your investment, and then key factors for the valuation of the company at the horizon, right? If you're going to value it, say, on revenue or earnings and what the appropriate multiple is. And then it'll give you a hurdle rate about what percentage of the company do you need to own for your investment in order to get your rate of return. So I'll share this with you in your email, since I feel like I'm, it's like this after Andrew's cool Selenium project.
I know, right? So awesome.
That was really great.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for your time. This is awesome. If you want to send me any of the links or anything like that, I'll aggregate those and figure out how to share them with everybody. But really appreciate your time. This was fun. I love seeing people who know what they're doing in Excel. So always a pleasure.